All right.
All right.
I don't know if I should finish that.
Go for it.
All right, suck my dyke. Actually, that might have been worse.
Yeah.
So, let's go ahead and
Cancel this podcast.
Okay,
Cancel
here I
this
go.
show.
I'm gonna end the stream right now. Nerd news. Ring, ring, ring. Or wait, that's Recommendation Nation. Fuck. Nerd news is like near news.
Near me. I'm telling you, that should be NYRD NYWZ.
Jesus.
The most extreme spelling.
I got pretty extreme. I just put like a Z on the end, and now it's like
It's not extreme enough.
That's-
The Buddy
yeah.
Boys want more extreme. They demand it.
well, they can have extreme cheese if they really want it.
Ah, delicious.
Oh. Okay. Oh.
Cool.
And that's it.
So let's get into it.
That's the news. We're both like, oh.
That's the news.
Cool. Go for it.
All right. Well, nerd news for this week is related to gaming for me.
Oh shit.
There's going to be a Gollum game.
Yeah, I heard about this like a year or so ago.
What? You're
Yeah.
telling me I have out of date nerd news?
No. I mean it's new. It's news if you just heard about it for you. You know what I mean? Like.
Well, I guess the news is maybe there's a trailer that came out.
Okay, yeah. I mean, when I heard about it, it was like an announcement they made like a year or so ago. But then like COVID happened, and it was like nobody heard anything else about it. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess it's gonna be like a stealth adventure game.
Right? Yeah. He's like time.
What do you think about that?
I'm not like the biggest Lord of the Rings like fan. Like I like the movies and stuff. But I'm not like somebody that goes back and watches them regularly.
Yeah.
But I think for people that like Lord of the Rings, like that it might be an interesting thing. But it's to me it's like I feel like I don't know if like the Gollum thing is kind of like over for me. Like I felt like that was
It's been over for like 20 years.
right. It's just kind of a weird time to do a Golem like game specifically. I felt like
happened in like 2003.
yeah, like this is like a
Had Gollum.
yeah, this is like a GameCube kind of thing, not like a
Yeah, exactly.
not like a Switch like 4 or 5 fucking generations later. I could see them like doing a thing where they make a Lord of the Rings like trilogy game, you know, instead of like, you know, on PS2 and GameCube they split all those games up, making like a game where you go back through and it's like because we played one of those games but it was bad. I felt like remember that Lord of the Rings game we played?
Yeah.
But like I feel like they could do so much better now. So I feel like if anything that would be a fun thing, playing like a 4-player like RPG / kind of like Left 4 Dead where you play against like because there's like the orcs are the huge deal in that game in those movies. So it's like, you know, you'd be completely outnumbered, but your characters are like heroes, so you know you can pick between all the main guys and like level their skills up and stuff. But like, yeah, I don't know the Golem game. Like, I don't want to like shit on it too hard because, like I said, I'm not like really someone that's a huge like Lord of the Rings fan, so I can't sit over here and be like, oh, this is gonna be fucking completely horrible because my opinion is like skewed. But at the same time, yeah, I think it's like not really the time to be doing this. Like I feel like it's gonna pass.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, I mean it could be fucking awesome. They made that one game, and I think the first one was pretty successful. The something of Middle Earth or whatever. But then they made the sequel, and it like they got greedy and like tried to make it like monetize, and it did fucking horrible. So
Well, I'm semi interested just as a pretty big Lord of the Rings fan. So.
What do you think about, like, I heard there was news of like the estate going back and like making a Lord of the Rings TV series because they were like unhappy with like the Peter Jackson films, which I thought was pretty ridiculous because I thought those were pretty near perfect. But like, what do you think about that? Like, I don't know if that's still happening, but I heard that in like a while back.
Yeah. Yeah, I also agree. Like, I read the books and saw the movies, and I thought they were like the best possible adaptation of the books. Like, so it's funny that they weren't happy with it. But yeah, I think Netflix is making a new series, a Lord of the Rings series.
Right. They were happy to take the money, but yeah, I don't really understand, like, because like I could see, I guess, if like. I don't know, because it's not like... I don't really know. Like, I never really read Lord of the Rings, so I don't know how off it is about it, but the only thing I've ever heard is, like...
It's not at all.
When a couple of...
It's on.
Like, one of our friends talked about, like, one of the characters not being in the thing, and that was the only thing. And it was like... Yeah, it was like... It was like...
In the entire series?
It was like a minor character. So it was kind of like...
You should go back in time and delete that from the books, because it was horrible.
We should have, like, we should have somebody on that's a fan of Tom Bombadil, that's our friend, and they can like explain who that character
I'd love
is.
to hear it.
Because I don't know anything about it. But that's the only thing I ever heard about it, like why. Because like I said, like that's the only reason why I would think anybody would have an issue with the movies, because the movies, like, I thought were... You could tell that, like, Peter Jackson actually gave a fuck about, like, the source material to a point that he...
Every person who worked on that movie did.
Right. But, I mean, mainly him, because he was the one that, like, actually got, like, you know, you can tell as a director, he put his fucking, like, body on the line, because, like, he lost so much weight making that movie. It's, like, you know,
yeah.
He had a vision.
Ian McKellen gave an Oscar-worthy performance, literally. He got nominated.
Yeah. I mean, it is Ian McKellen, and I think that movie got, like, a shit ton of awards, regardless, but, that movie got, like, so many awards just for, like, effects, and, like, they were like, holy shit, a movie came out that fucking didn't use, like, fucking billions of fucking shitty CGI. And they gave it awards.
It kind of did.
I mean, it did, but they actually used models, which is, like, was a huge thing, because nobody was doing that, because Star Wars had just kind of came out, and, like, they were literally, everything was green screen, so it was like,
Yeah, they stopped using models after episode 1.
It was, like, obvious as fuck. Which kind of was shocking. But anyway, yeah, that was kind of a little side thing that nobody gives a fuck about. Okay.
What do you got this week?
I'm like, okay, so the main villain for Fantastic Four reboot is reportedly revealed. Just kidding. The real news I have is I've read from multiple sources that, like, HBO Max wants more Snyderverse stuff. But, like, since, like, it's been so popular, but, like, WB isn't having it. They're like, fuck that shit's not happening. So, I have a theory on, like, why this might be, like, possibly true. Because I feel DC was, like, totally fine with having Zack, like, do this and release it, because with COVID, it's, like, straight profit for them. But if, like, COVID hadn't happened, they would have been, like, on to the next thing and not even having Zack Snyder involved at all. And they probably expected it to, like, do okay, but, like, nobody really give a shit, so that they could just get on to the next thing and say, fuck this. But the issue is, like, pretty much everyone says that they've turned, like, what was horrible with, like, Joss Whedon's, like, cut of it into, like, something actually pretty legit. Like, pretty much, like, you know, from, like, Red Letter Media to, like, everybody is pretty much saying, I mean, this is, like, a way better movie than originally, you know what I mean, what was put in theaters. And it's like, my thing is, like, now that things are starting to get back to, like, some sense of normalcy with, like, COVID shots going out and stuff like that, like, DC is thinking, wait, we can't have like this one
Got
director.
dollar signs in their eyes.
Right, and they're like, we can't have this one director in charge of everything. Like, our bosses are going to realize that we don't do shit. So, in summary, fuck committee movies and committees. They ruined the film industry.
I agree.
So,
you nailed it. Couldn't agree more.
I
don't think I'm going to watch that. Have you watched it?
I haven't. I'm going to, but I mean, regardless, dude, it's like 4 hours for anything. Like, to me, that should have been like, they should have found a way to split that up into like 4 episodes, because that's what I heard it was going to be originally. Or maybe that was.
They kind of did that in the actual movie. Like one of the theories that I heard from someone is that like people have changed the way they've watched stuff even since the pandemic started.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something like that is more palatable now than it would have been normally.
Yeah.
I think that may be like flavoring things more positive than it would have been otherwise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, I mean, I'm not even like a huge Zack Snyder fan. I think that like I don't know if we talked about this on the podcast. I think we have, but I would rather.
We don't like the Owls of Ga'Hoole?
Well, no, I was gonna say I would rather Zack Snyder get his version of a movie put out there than the bullshit that happened where like someone in his family died and fucking they took over and like had Joss Whedon come in and like committee movied it and like had all this weird shit happen in the movie that like made zero sense, and it was like total committee bullshit than like what we should have got, which was like, for better or worse, Zack Snyder's like actual idea of what he wanted to do. Because it's like,
sure.
I mean, think about it. If that shit had happened to like, you know, George Lucas, and fucking that's the reason why he like said fuck Hollywood, is because he didn't want to have to do that shit. Then Star Wars wouldn't have had his like stuff, and it would have probably sucked. You know what I mean? So, and same thing with like John Carpenter. It's like that's why he tried to stay away from big studios and stuff like that, and actually get director's control, because, you know, some of his movies at the time didn't do great, like, in the box office, but almost all of them are, like, huge, like, cult classics now. Because he had a vision and was able to put it to film instead of, like, someone else took over in the fucking cutting room floor and, like, chopped his shit to fucking bits. So, oh well. Enough of that fucking shit. Oh yeah, The Legend of Guardians. I actually haven't seen that movie.
I saw it.
But those owls looked at me and they were like, "Yee." The one on the left's like, it's like twisting his head.
Zack Snyder's a visionary director.
Dude, it's from the studio that brought you Happy Feet. Take flight in 3D, September 24th. Diddy Kong Racing coming November 24th. God damn it. I like how this podcast is supposed to be about Clue, and we've already spent like most of it talking about Lord of the Rings and fucking Zack Snyder.
Star Wars and George Lucas.
I mean, that's what we do. This is what we do. Do. So, do you... Take off all your clothes. Pump it up party. It's like, what?
Pump it up and party?
What's a pump it up party?
It's a pump it up party.
Maybe it's like...
Then party.
Yeah, or it could be like you go to the beach and you have to pump up inflatable shit, so it's like a pump it up party. Everyone's like, okay, everybody come over, we're gonna pump up these fucking water toys. I guess you don't bring, like, water toys to the beach, do you really?
Yeah, why not?
Well, I mean, they get washed away, right? Well, no. Whatever. I'm sure they're not super expensive. Okay, anyway, recommendation.
I say
sorry.
Your theory's fine. I give it a 9.
9.9. Put your theory in practice now. Please.
Alright, sorry.
No, you're fine. Recommendation Nation! Or like... You're like, recommend that!
Recommend it?
I was like... You went like fucking Ultron on me. I was like, Okay. Oh, shit. So, Recommendation Nation. What do you have to recommend this week?
All right. For once, I'm going to recommend a brand new movie, or basically a new movie.
One that just came out tonight.
Called Greenland, or Greenland, starring Gerard Butler from Law Abiding Citizen.
Oh, shit. The guy that I thought was in Mad Max.
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah. I was like, wait, shit.
So this movie is really good, although it has probably the worst title imaginable, because it's a disaster movie.
Yeah.
Like a super comet that destroys the Earth.
Yeah, it says a family struggles for survival in the face of a cataclysmic natural disaster. And yeah, I would have never thought that that's what the movie was about. Yeah. I feel like a lot of times movies will come out and like they're just looking for like a random title or something to like possibly put down. You know what I mean? Kind of like a band.
Yeah, but there's nothing like who would see that title and get excited?
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of like the opposite of a band, where like a band can be named anything because it's the music that really matters. Whereas like Greenland, like it doesn't make you think of a disaster movie, and it doesn't make you think of anything other than like I could see that being like some kind of weird title for like a horror movie, maybe if it's set in like Greenland, but like, or like a documentary about Greenland, but like, why?
Where is that land?
They should have called it Land of Green, because I'm sure at some point like a lot of the like plants get fucked up due to the comet, right? So
well, yeah, the land is red because it gets like incinerated by super comets.
Yeah, well they could have called it. Well, wait. Why is it called Greenland then? That makes even less sense.
Because that's where like the governments have put some bunkers.
Oh,
like disaster bunkers.
Is in
so,
the
like,
Greenland.
Yeah, it was a really good movie. It reminded me of like the '90s disaster movies, like Volcano and Dante's Peak, Armageddon, and all those. But and Gerard Butler, like even though I think he's an American in this movie, he uses his actual accent, which is what I was complaining about in Law Abiding Citizen.
Yeah.
So he has like a thick Scottish accent in this movie, which is awesome.
It's got a 6.4 out of 10 on IMDb, so
I'd give it a 9. I'd give it a 9.95.
a very like that 5% is for the shitty title of the movie.
Yeah, but the coolest part is like the government selects like a handful of people who are going to be saved because the comet is like a planet killer.
Oh, so yeah.
And like he's the only one. Like they're having a party at the beginning of the movie when like the stuff starts going down, and like he gets notified, and all of his neighbors like see that he's notified, but no one else is. So like everyone starts panicking, and they try to like convince him to take them along, and it's like lots of good drama, good dramatic stuff.
Dude, I remember that one in what was it, the remake of War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise, where like
it reminded me of that a lot.
He's driving that car and fucking he gets like carjacked and fucking people are getting like shot over fucking like stuff like that, and I was like, huh.
Yeah, like everything devolves into chaos. That's kind of very similar to what happens in Greenland.
Well,
yeah, good stuff.
Check it out if you like fucking Tom Hardy.
Mad Max himself, Gerard Butler.
Oh shit, fuck, never mind, I fucked up again.
The Butler did it.
Oh, the Gerard Butler. He did it for you in this movie.
He did it for Clue.
I'm like, okay. So, this week I nominate or recommend. I nominate fucking.
The Oscar goes to
fucking bullshit.
Who is that man?
Who is that man? I recommend Bloodstained: Ritual of the Night, a video game that came out. I don't really know when it came out. Came out a year or so ago. but it's essentially like the guy that made a Symphony of the Night and a bunch of those other popular Castlevanias for like Game Boy, DS, all that stuff. Pretty much it changed the way like Castlevanias were played, because before that they were like the ones on Nintendo and Super Nintendo and all that, where they were like straight up level by level, and then they pretty much changed to like being like that, but an open map with role-playing elements and stuff. Like, you would play the game, but as you killed things, you would gain experience points and level up eventually, and you could get more than just a whip. You could get, like, you know, swords and all kinds of different stuff and equipment. And in this game, it's essentially he left Konami because they were, like, pretty much, like, not doing shit, and he was just like, okay, I'm fucking leaving this place, and he, like, started his own company, and this is essentially like Castlevania, but not called Castlevania. It's got like some of the voice actors from Symphony of the Night in it, you know, like they brought them back for like bit roles and stuff. But like, yeah, it's a pretty good game, I would say, if you haven't played it before and you like Castlevania games, especially like Symphony of the Night kind of games, like what they call, I guess, Metroidvanias. Yeah, which I'm a huge fan of those kinds of games personally.
Yeah, I just watched a little bit of the trailer and it looks really cool.
Yeah. The best part is this is like one of the only games or things I've ever kickstarted that actually like delivered. Not only delivered, but it like went above and beyond. Like, they're still like putting out like free shit for the game. Like,
wow,
they just came out with like a classic mode where you can play through the game in the old Castlevania style, like without any like leveling up, and there's all kinds of extra like characters they've added and stuff, and it's like, it's just nice to see games that do that, whereas like, you know, we're used to like the bullshit where a game comes out and it's like doesn't have half the shit that is promised, and it eventually might, but you know, if it doesn't, who cares? They already got your money, so fuck you. It's like,
yeah, that's cool.
I'm like, you can tell that I'm not fucking jaded with that kind of shit. It's like,
I don't know.
Not at all. Hey, boo boo. Okay, let's move on to the movie this week nominated by our friend, our real close friend and buddy, Kurt Hennig. No, just kidding. It's not Kurt Hennig. It is Son of Darrell, or, well, I don't know. We won't say his name unless he wants to be said. We'll just leave it at that. But this was nominated. I actually thought I had seen this movie, but I hadn't seen this movie before.
Interesting. Okay.
I think that I thought that like I thought I had seen it, and I thought that there was at least going to be a point where I would like be watching it and be like, oh, I remember this, but like I guess I had never seen anything on this movie, like not even on TV,
Wow.
which is kind of weird because there was nothing about this movie that I like remembered. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
that's cool. I would bet you that Son of Darrell probably like grew up watching this movie or probably had it on tape.
yeah, I think
That's how a lot of people like, you know,
right.
why this movie became like a really, really popular movie.
Yeah, I think that like Nate was like, this is also one of like Nate's favorite movies too, and I think this is
I
probably
remember
like,
Paul used to talk about it all the time.
right, yeah,
And I never saw it up until maybe like 10 years ago.
right.
And that's why when I heard we were doing this, I was like, uh-oh, because I didn't like it. I was expecting like a comedy, like laugh riot, but it's really not that, right? So I was like, oh, this movie's not funny at all. It's overrated. But we'll get into it, but I did enjoy it more this time. So.
Okay, yeah. I enjoyed this movie. Especially I enjoyed this movie for its like comedic like timing more than anything. More than like some of the jokes were like kind of a miss, but like more than not they were hit. They were just kind of like, it was very like I would say Blazing Saddles, but Blazing Saddles and like those kinds of movies are way funnier.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Like it had the feeling of kind of like Airplane or Blazing Saddles, but those movies, the jokes are way funnier to me.
Yeah, this I think was more like low key and like
right,
humor.
right.
and I think like more subtle stuff that you might pick up on if you watch it like over and over again.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, because essentially at heart, I mean, this movie, so I'm going to go ahead and run it down real quick here. This is a movie about 7 guests, a butler and a maid, who are all involved in a series of murders. The guests all meet at Hill House, where you learn that Professor Plum, Christopher Lloyd, works in Washington, D.C., where everyone else lives. Colonel Mustard, Martin Mull, is a client of Miss Scarlet, Lesley Ann Warren, who is the ex-employer of Yvette, Colleen Camp, the maid, who had an affair with the husband of Miss White, Madeline Kahn, etc. Blackmailer, Mr. Body, Lee Ving, gives each guest a weapon and tells him or her to kill butler Wadsworth, Tim Curry, to avoid being exposed, because they're all being blackmailed. Adam is Peacock's, Eileen Brennan's craziness, and Mr. Green, Michael McKean's clumsiness, and meet a whole group tangled in a web of murder, lies, and hilarity. So, like, this movie is kind of weird also because, like, I was going to say, like, what happens at the end, but this movie has, like, fucking 3 endings.
Yep.
And, like, that's actually something that, like, Son of Darrell kind of brought up to me. I guess he was saying that, like, in theaters, they played, instead of at the end of this movie where, like, they're like, this is how it happened, or it could have happened like this, but this is actually how it happened. Like, there were the 3 endings, and there was actually one that was supposed to be real. Like, that, like, Tim Curry was, like, actually the fucking bad guy. Like, they had all these other endings that they would play in the theater, and so people would, like, come out of the theater and, like, be like, oh, man, wasn't it ridiculous, like, that this happened? And the person would be like, dude, what are you talking about? The actual ending, like, the ending was this. So it would, like, they did that so it would, like, fucking confuse people, apparently. And I was like, huh.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really cool gimmick, and, like, that would never work now, sadly.
Right, that's
do anything like that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, actually, when they were telling me about it, like, the other day when I was streaming, because I was like, that's one of the things that really sucks about the internet, because, like, a reviewer would have gone and seen the movie and, like, completely ruined it for everybody, because he would have, like, said, you know what I mean? Like, which...
Yeah, you can't be surprised anymore.
Right, because then they also, I mean, that's how they also are like, oh, fucking, this is what happened at the end credits, and this is the after credit scene, and all this shit, and I'm like, okay, dude, fuck off, like, but yeah, like, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I'm surprised, like, there weren't more gimmicks like that back in the day, because I think that kind of stuff was really cool.
Yeah, I think it's weird because it's one of those things where, like, definitely, like we were saying, it couldn't be done now, but back then, like, I mean, how the fuck would anybody know, like, for sure?
Right.
So,
I wonder if any arguments, like, led to someone being killed over Clue. That wasn't what happened. I saw it.
Yeah, I'm sure it happened all the time. Right? I would assume that would probably be more likely to happen these days than it would be, like, back then.
People were more civilized.
People are, like, wound tighter than fuck, and if, like, you have an opinion that's not in line with somebody these days, it's, like, time for a fucking, like, burial.
Retire.
Seriously, dude. It's fucking ridiculous.
So
but...
I gotta mention my boy Roger Ebert, because he talked about the endings in his
Oh,
review.
shit. Yeah, go for it.
He wasn't a big fan of Clue.
Oh my god.
But he had some pretty funny stuff in here.
Yeah,
so
go for it.
I'm just going to read a little bit. The way Paramount is handling its multiple endings is ingenious. They're playing each of the endings in a third of the theaters where the movie is booked. If this were a better movie, that might mean you'd have to drive all over town and buy 3 tickets to see all the endings. With Clue, though, 1 ending is more than enough. There's a couple other gems in here. Here's my suggestion. Since this movie is so short anyway, why doesn't the studio abandon the ridiculous multiple ending scheme and show all 3 endings at every theater? It would be more fun that way. It's kind of interesting because that's how it's shown now, like at least on Amazon.
I think that's mainly because, like, yeah, like, I don't know, like, I feel like it fits it more in line with like the board game and stuff to play different endings because it can end in any different order, and it's more fun that way. Excuse me. Whereas like I get where he's coming from, even though he kind of like contradicts himself by saying it's like funny, it's like cool, but then saying like fucking
totally.
But I mean, that's why it's always interesting for you to bring up this stuff with Roger Ebert, because
there's one more gem.
Oh shit! Yeah, go for it.
The filmmakers have attempted to make Clue into a screwball comedy with lots of throwaway gags and one-liners. Some of these moments of comedy are funny. Most are not.
I don't know. I
agree with you. I think it's more hits than misses.
Yeah, it was weird because there are parts that I did laugh, but like I don't know, man. I don't know what the really
a couple laughs, but I was more like just smiling. I think.
I don't really understand. I don't understand what it's hard for me to really say anything because it's like this cast is fucking stacked. Like there's so many, like even the side people
out there.
Yeah, even the side people, like the singing telegram girl that comes to the door and they shoot her is like Joan of Arc from Bill and Ted, and she's like in like the Go-Go's band or whatever. So like, you know, there's all this talent, like even the side people and stuff, but it's like, you know, even like I think for me the best part of this movie is when Tim Curry is like retelling the entire events of the night, and he's running all over the place, and it's like
what he does at the end of this movie is like legendary.
Yeah, he should have gotten like a fucking award for this if he didn't, because I don't know, Tim Curry for me is probably like one of the best actors of all time. He's up there with like Christopher Lee, and that's the thing is like there's so many other people on here that you could say the same thing about. Like I mean like fucking Christopher Lloyd's in this movie, like Madeline Kahn, which is like she's a big like staple of films like Blazing Saddles and like, you know,
Young Frankenstein.
Right, all those other movies that Mel Brooks made and stuff. So she's like a comedy like legend and stuff. It's just it's weird because also there are characters like Miss Peacock, like Eileen Brennan's character, and like Mr. Body, like that guy was just kind of like for me.
So
like
we gotta talk about Mr. Body because he's played by Lee Ving.
Yeah.
With that guy?
No, I thought he was just kind of like some guy that got off the street. I don't know anything about him.
He's not an actor. Well, he was in some movies, but he's more famous for like he's the front man of a punk band called Fear. And that, like, I'm not really into punk, but
right.
I can respect some like hardcore punk people, and like if you watch some videos of him with that band, it's like pretty outrageous stuff. Like he'll yell at the audience and like get everyone riled up. And, like, everyone will start spitting on him, and then people will like come on stage and he'll fight them. He's
a fucking minion. They spit on him.
Yeah, he's a freak.
He's like,
he's pretty hardcore.
Fuck you. Yeah, I mean, well, it's weird because that doesn't like coincide with his character in this movie.
No, not at all.
Because in this movie, he's like a mobster character, but like he's like kind of, I don't know. I don't want to say.
I think they might have dubbed his voice. So there was something weird about him.
Yeah, it's boring. It's one of those things where I watched him and I was just kind of like, this guy can't act worth shit. But it makes sense now. I mean, like, he's, like you said, he's a fucking punk front man. So, like, you know, I can't shit on him too bad now. I guess that kind of takes that out. Like, you know, I was going to say, man, this fucking Mr. Body guy, like, but that makes sense because, you know, which makes, I guess it kind of like makes him even better actor, because if he's normally like riling people up and he's like a punk like lead dude, he plays a completely different character in this movie, so maybe he should have been an actor.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think you see him pop up in movies from the 80s every now and then.
He's like, uh-oh.
Well, speaking of uh-oh, that's what I said when the opening credits started.
This movie was produced by Debra Hill.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Which actually I was kind of like, oh, cool, this is awesome. I'm in for a treat because, you know, her and fucking John Carpenter, right? So it's like, but John Carpenter wasn't here, so.
But what'd you think of the opening credits? Because it started out as just like text, and I was like, oh man, Mike's gonna have a conniption.
I saw Debra Hill, and I think I was like, okay, whatever. I honestly don't remember too much about the intro, like the credits, until the movie started, because I kind of looked at my phone for a bit, I won't lie. Was there anything of note that happens? Like, it was just kind of credits,
no,
right?
It starts out as text.
Yeah.
But it's not the full credits, so
right.
It was only like half.
You know what's funny is like the best credits were the after the movie was over, where they like had they showed like everybody's like character credits and like name, and it was like Christopher Lloyd and his character on like a Clue card, like from the board game, and I was like, I understand they want to have something after the movie to a degree, but like they kind of should have had that at the beginning to get people like ramped up and shit. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because my thing is like, I don't know. Like you were saying, like I wasn't too like egregious at this, but like that totally happens in movies where it's like, it's a text crawl, cool, fucking, you do nothing special with your opening credits. That's like a straight strike against the movie for me, because I'm like, unless it's like something that ends up like the rest of the movie is so fucking good, but like, I don't know.
Or if you're hearing awesome John Carpenter music
underscoring. Or like in what's it called? Like Escape from New York, they cut back and forth between footage from the movie and like the credits.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's fine. There's a billion things you can do, but like just rolling the credits before the movie starts is kind of like, dude.
Dude, I had to time it because the opening credits of Prince of Darkness are 15 minutes long. It's amazing. Like, that's the best opening credit scene ever, because like they'll show a credit and then there'll be like 2 minutes of like a scene, and then the next credit.
Yeah, that's where they're going and like like raiding the vampire house, right? At the beginning of the movie, or no?
No.
Or wait, that's I'm thinking of vampires. Never mind. Yeah, no, okay.
Like
yes, yeah. Okay, never mind. I was like, for some reason I had that on my mind. Maybe because like, I don't know why, honestly, because one's called Vampires. Is that where they're raiding the vampire movie, Matt? You're like, no, that's it.
Is the Prince of Darkness.
Yeah, that's true. Or actually, Satan is, but...
You're like Starman. Is that the one where...
Pretty much I fucked up, okay? You were like trying to like save it, and I was like, I fucked up.
I did my best.
Yeah. Honestly, as I was watching this movie feels like it would really be best suited to a play, because I've seen a lot of like plays on stage, and I love like theater. But like, as I was watching it, I was like, this is just like a play I saw that was like just a lot of misunderstandings going on and stuff like that, to a degree. But in the end, obviously, like, it's not a misunderstanding that, everybody's like guilty and shit like that. But like,
I didn't think about that, but I think you're right.
Well, because there was a lot of like not obvious people like hitting their like spots where they had to be, because like that's one thing, is like everything is acted well in this movie, and like I never thought like, oh, it's not like it when we watched what's it called, Last Boy Scout, where like Damon Wayans like legit did his like Oscar performance, and it was like so obvious that it was like this was his like I'm on stage moment, because he gets up and walks away and like talks. It was more so like I could see everything that was happening. I could see them doing in front of a play audience, and like the way it was played played was like this movie needed an audience to laugh at the jokes after every fucking time it happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I was thinking about. And what I thought you were gonna say is, I would love to see this movie in a packed theater, like movie theater.
Yeah, that's
I
also
would be so
true.
much
Yeah,
better.
yeah,
Like especially that and like Tim Curry at the ending.
yeah,
Dude, I bet you like people were dying in the theaters.
yeah.
You know, during that sequence.
Because he was going around killing them.
I'm dying.
I was gonna say
Stop
this
laughing.
movie kind of reminds me of Real Men because it had a lot of like ridiculous like jokes that were played so straight, but
Yes.
which is I don't know. I'm not. That's the thing is like I still maintain that Real Men could have been way better if it was just if they had cut a lot of the shit out of it.
Yeah, I know.
Like there was just I don't know.
The clown attack.
Well, like it was
Get
just
rid of that.
the way that it like was played. Like things were just played for so long. My biggest egregious in that movie was when they were in that house forever, and it was like, okay. It was also felt like going from scene to scene, whereas this movie was the complete opposite. I felt like this movie was like one long thing that flowed super well. So,
And there's some really funny stuff in it, like Michael McKean is
Yeah.
like accident prone.
Right.
So, like stuff like he's sitting on a table and it collapses and.
I didn't even know that's who that was until
Oh yeah, he's great.
like I think he took his glasses off for the first time, and I was like, holy shit, because he had been playing like such a good like like character that like when he took his glasses off, and I guess he fucking Clark Kented my ass somehow because he
Are you
like
talking about the very end, like the.
no like the part where he takes off his glasses in the study and he's
Oh.
just like I'm gay, I'm and he like
Mhm.
confessed to like so that like nobody could blackmail him anymore, and they were like all
Yeah.
confessing their crimes and stuff. That part was like because he was like I'm gay, and then like Christopher Lloyd was like got up because he was sitting next to him. I'm like he's not gonna like fuck you right here, Christopher Lloyd.
It's different times, man.
That's true. Tim Curry's
But
wife.
there's some good. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, no, yeah, you go ahead first, actually, because this is just a
I was
note.
gonna say there's just some good slapstick stuff.
Yeah.
I always enjoyed that. Like at the very beginning, like someone just opens a door and it like crushes Martin Mull behind them.
Right.
Oh. It's like stupid stuff like that always gets me.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of good stuff in this movie. It was just like,
At one point, Martin Mull is like pouring whiskey, like drinks for everyone.
Yeah.
And he's just like splashing
yeah.
it all over.
Well, as soon as like, because he was just gonna pour one for himself, and then he's like, "Does anybody else want a drink?" And people like, 3 other people said yeah or something. So he just was like, "Fuck it," and he started just pouring it in a circle. Like, I was like, okay.
It's like so unnecessary. but
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. I don't know. Some of these notes I have are literally just recounting what happens. Like,
Yeah, it's tough.
somebody throws the evidence in the fire but misses most of it. That was actually something I was kind of like, because like they throw the evidence in the fire and then like 4 pieces of evidence just like don't go into the fire. But later on in the movie, it's all burned.
Yeah, I don't know if I noticed that.
There's a couple lines I thought was worthy of talking about, like when Tim Curry's like 6 murders altogether, and he's like, "This is getting serious," and I was like, I think Madeline Kahn said this, but it was like life after death is as improbable as sex after marriage, and I was like, okay.
I think Madeline Kahn got one of the biggest laughs where like there's a scene where everyone's arguing and she's just
Mhm.
like, "Play!"
Yeah. Yeah. This Tim Curry's wife had friends that were socialists, and that was like the worst thing that like the characters had ever heard, because this movie takes place in like 1950 something.
Yeah.
So it was like even more of a. I mean, that's kind of funny because that's kind of become like a hot topic now. Like socialism, but it's like, yeah, so like I don't know, the 3 endings for this movie were like the first ending was that like the killer was Miss Scarlet and she was blackmailing everybody and like pretty much like just doing it for money or something. And then the second ending, the killer was Miss Peacock. And, yeah, it was kind of the same thing, but just, like, she left and then they arrested her. And then, like, the third and, like, supposedly actual ending was, like, everyone was a killer. Like, everyone in the movie except for, like, Michael McKean had killed one of the people that died in this movie. Tim Curry was actually Mr. Body. He was the one that, like, or he was, like, the actual person that was blackmailing them. And, he almost got away with it, but Michael McKean, like, pulled out a gun and killed him because he was actually, like, working for the FBI. And, like, at the end of the movie, he's like, I'm gonna go home and sleep with my wife. Just because, like, he's not actually, like, gay. So,
the one where Tim Curry has hilarious death scene?
Yeah, that's like the possible, I guess, like, actual ending where, like, Tim Curry ends up being the bad guy. Because in the other endings, he's not the bad guy. He's, like, saying, like, actually Miss Scarlet did it, actually Miss Peacock did it, like, but, like, in this one, he's like, actually, I did it, and we all, like, everybody was involved in killing somebody except for Michael McKean, because at the end, also, Michael McKean's like, I told you I didn't do it, and then he was just like, he's like, who did it, and he's like, everybody, and then he says, like, and I killed, like, the butler or something, and they were like, okay, but yeah, that was, like, he shot Tim Curry, and he's just like, good shot, and he's, like, bleeding, and he looks down, and it's, I guess he shot him, like, right in the heart, and he's like, very good shot. And I was like, okay. And then he's just like, eh. And I was just like, yeah, it was, I don't know, it was, like, it's hard for me, like, I think you called this, and I knew this was possibly going to be the case, but, like, this is kind of a movie where it's like, what the fuck do I talk about? Because it's a bunch of, like, jokes. And it's like, we've already run down, like, the synopsis to a degree. I mean, I guess we didn't say exactly what happened point for point in the movie. But...
It doesn't matter, though, really.
Right, yeah. Like, yeah. I mean...
Well, I had a few notes of stuff that I wanted to talk about. One was Tim Curry, which hopefully we've given him credit that he deserves. But, like, why do we like Tim Curry so much? I think the first time I ever knew who he was Home Alone 2, which he's great in that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think he was
like his biggest movie.
I mean, I know he was pretty big in Rocky Horror Picture Show. I think that was kind of a huge deal, especially for, like, I mean, a male character to, like, dress up as, like, a woman to a degree, or, like, I think he's, like, a Transylvanian transvestite in that movie. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's big. I mean, he's done a lot of voice work, too. So, like, he's been in a lot of, like, cartoons and stuff, and video games people have, like, heard him in. He's kind of, like, I don't know. He's kind of become, like...
Every time he pops up in something, he's always good.
It's kind of like, I think he's, like, transcended, like, Bruce Campbell. He's become, like, pop culture, like, gold. Like Christopher Lee. Like, Christopher Lee, like, has, like, a huge career. But, like, he's also transcended into that thing where, like, whenever you... Regardless of what the movie is, even if the movie's shit, you know he's gonna be, like, the best part of it. Because, like, he was in Congo, wasn't he? And he was fucking great in that. Yeah. Like, so it's like... And that movie was pure shit. So it's like...
Disagree there. Had apes firing lasers.
Yeah, it was pure shit. To me, at least.
No.
I mean, they kill off Bruce Campbell in, like, the first minute of the movie, so how good can it be?
Bruce Campbell, Tim Curry, and Ernie Hudson.
I mean, technically it doesn't have Bruce Campbell in it, because he gets killed in, like, the first second, so they pretty much... Well, technically it does...
He's still in it.
He is, but it's still, like, a shit movie, because they kill him off. They kill off, like, the best actor in the movie, for the most part. Besides, like, you know, so it's like... I don't know. We could talk about fucking Congo all night long, but it's...
Tim Curry's character is named Herkimer.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember watching.
Like Russian.
I think I've seen that movie like twice, because I watched it again to kind of like see what I thought about it. Because I remember the first time I watched it, I thought it was like okay, and then I watched it again and like I was like, oh, Bruce Campbell's in this movie, and he gets gimped in like the first fucking movie, in the first like second. And then, like, the rest of the movie is just following, like, these people that can't act the whole time with, like, a horrible fucking, like, ape fucking puppet that, like, that guy rapes every night. I'm just like,
what?
Okay, this is fucking stupid. So.
Oh, It. That's a big one. I forgot about It.
Yes. It, yeah. I don't know.
There's been lots of good stuff.
But
I think Clue is probably one of the ones he's best known for.
Yeah, I mean, could be. I'm trying to think of, I mean, other things like, you know what's funny is I went to his page and yeah, on Congo is one of the fucking things he's known for. I'm like, really? Well,
he was in the Dinosaurs show. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did a bunch of voices. Anyways, yeah, Tim Curry's awesome. Also, Legend. That's another one I forgot about. That is pretty memorable. He's memorable in that one.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm like, yeah. Oh.
Another thing, I think a lot of people, including myself, just enjoy like movies or scenes where people are exploring like a haunted mansion type situation. You know what I mean? Like they're finding secret passageways and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can see that.
So that's like a draw that this movie has, I think. At least for me.
Come for the jokes, stay for the hidden passages, possibly.
I'd like to see people exploring a manse.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. In this one, it was like less. I don't know. It was more so like I knew that it wasn't going to be anything like holy shit revelation, because it was going to be like obviously like there were going to be hidden passages and all kinds of shit like that, but like it was still good. It was just kind of one of those things where like if it was more like if it wasn't comedy, I probably would have been more like holy shit, a fucking secret passage. Like in this, it was like obviously there's going to be a secret passage. It's like fucking based on the board game, and it's like a murder thing. Like not like obviously, but as soon as they like unveiled it, it's not like I was like, whoa, what the fuck? But like I do agree. I mean, that is, I think everybody always thinks that stuff's sweet. I mean, it's like finding treasure, man.
Yeah. And then my last note was the humor in this is pretty like light, you know, basically PG type stuff. But at one point, there's some cadaver play.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
I think I had a note where it was like, they like fucking were dropping bodies and shit. Like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Like there was a part I think where like the girl that gets like killed on the front porch, I think they just leave her out there the whole time.
Yeah, I think so.
And then there's a part where like they bring the maid's body into the other room, and they're all like kind of like, oh man, it sucks that she died and all this crap. And then they're like, well, on to the next thing. And they just like drop her fucking body like it's nothing.
Yeah, but when the police show up, like they're pulling some Weekend at Bernie's.
That was pretty legit. Yeah, they're like, there were like characters are like making out, and like the cops like, this is all legal. This is perfectly legal. And I'm like, why would you say that it's illegal? Like, who would think that it wouldn't be? Like, you know what I mean? I thought that was like a funny thing for a character to say.
Like, you're gonna see something really messed up in
here. Yeah. What? Yeah, it was like, yeah, the legality line was like, huh? But it was just hilarious because it was like, he's like, it is? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, the United States is like, I guess for the time period it makes sense because it's like the 40s and they were coming out of like times that were more strict to a degree. But like, it was just funny because he was like, I didn't know things were that loose in the United States or whatever.
Yeah.
Because he assumes that fucking he just saw like a bunch of fucking corpses. I was just like, okay. But yeah, it was which to me, like, if now that I just thought about it, if Michael McKean was actually like undercover the whole time, why didn't he just like slowly capture people one by one? Like, he could have done it, right? You know, because at that point it was just Tim Curry, him, and the police officer in the fucking main hallway.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to go too far into the logic in this movie.
Too late.
Oh.
I fucked it. I'm like, next week is Congo. We're gonna be fucking aping up and shitting our drawers. Bruce Campbell's gonna be killed in the first second, and I'm gonna shit everywhere.
Bruce Campbell's killed in the first act. What's with that?
I know. This movie's backwards. This movie's fucking pure ape shit. I also looked up Mr. Body, and his credit is like 2 D's, I think, in this movie, which I thought was kind of weird. I've never seen body spelled that way.
Yeah.
Also, I thought it was kind of weird because there is no character in Clue named Body. It's all after, like, I don't know, it's like peacock, white, plum, green, mustard, scarlet, and I think they've added characters possibly over the years to the board game, but they're all in that same vein. Mr. Body's like...
Well, he's the one who's killed them.
Right, but I'm saying, like, it was pretty obvious that, like, Mr. Body wasn't gonna be one of the main cast.
Yes.
Because, like, it's not like he was Colonel Mustard, you know what I mean? Like, it was... people pretty much that know Clue, or even if you don't, I mean, I've never really played the game, but people usually have heard of these characters because it's kind of it's like a Monopoly. It's like a, you know, an international kind of thing.
Yeah. I remember playing Clue a few times back in the day, and it was never very fun.
Did you find any hidden passages?
Yeah, I loved it.
In your house?
Couldn't get enough.
Couldn't get enough. You saw him on the board, and you were like, holy fuck! You're like, oh.
That beautiful hidden passage.
They're like, well, time to put this dog to sleep because he gave away the fucking bean formula. He's like, oh shit. I don't know, man.
What do you want on your tombstone? Pepperoni.
Yeah. This is made in New York City. Get a rope. That commercial that I posted. Get a rope.
That was so good.
I don't know.
Times when commercials could end with lynchings.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. It's like a fucking cowboy days. They're just gonna kill this guy. We're bringing fucking salsa that was made in New York City, which is like, why does it matter where it was made? Fucking. Anyway, so yeah. Do you have anything else to say about this movie? I don't really.
No. Yeah, it's. Yeah, I don't know if I have much more to say. It was fun to watch, fun to talk about.
Yeah. Sucks because I feel like generally we go at least an hour and 20 minutes. But like, yeah, I think
well, I mean, we could say all the funny lines in this movie, or recount the gags, but that's not really the point.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I don't mind for the episode to be like shorter than usual. I just think when these kinds of movies, like, we talk about them, it's a little bit like, it's a little hard to, like, unless there was something egregious.
Like,
yeah.
Like, I thought about doing Happy Gilmore, but like that episode would be 5 minutes long. Like, what could you say that hasn't already been said? Like,
yeah, I mean, I feel like something like,
great.
yeah, I think for me, I'm more familiar with Happy Gilmore, so like I possibly could come up with more stuff to say, mainly because I would be able to, like, maybe on watching it I would see something I hadn't seen before, but I've only seen this movie one time and I liked it, but that's kind of enough for me.
Yeah.
at least for, I mean, maybe I'll want to watch it again, like, years down the road, but this is also one of those movies where, like, half the fun is finding out who did it, and it's like, once you know, it's kind of like, I mean, like, kind of, I mean, a lot of the jokes are the big deal about this movie, and, like, the frenetic energy, especially at the end, is, like, huge, but other than that, yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, I thought it was a good movie. I don't know. It definitely was not the worst movie we've watched on the podcast so far, but it wasn't like the best. It's like,
it was.
Let me actually look and see here. I'm padding the fucking runtime here. So if we're gonna do new era buddy shots, because we have a lot of ones we've watched back in the day, but a lot of those weren't ones that like
is this
other.
The Attitude Era?
This is the new generation. So we've got, so we started Buddy Shots, the new one, because originally we had it on Natural D20 channel, and then we kind of switched over to Steak Beaumont 64 channel, and then now that we restarted and doing it once a week, we have the, modern era here. So our first one that when we started back was Howling, then The Wicker Man, then Black Christmas, Demolition Man, Outland, Willow. I think Willow was the first one when people started nominating movies. And then Hoosiers, Real Men, Strange Brew, The Wailing, Law Abiding Citizen, Bloodsport, AVGN Movie, which was nominated by me, The Last Boy Scout, which was nominated by you, and then this week was Clue. I would have to say the worst movie was probably Real Men. For me.
What? I would agree if it weren't for AVGN. That was brutal.
I'd rather watch that movie again, honestly, than Real Men. Because at least that movie was edited, like, correctly. Honestly, they were probably about the same length.
John Ritter.
I mean, that's the thing. Real Men had better actors, but AVGN had, like, somehow a better editing fucking scheme. We'll just say that they were both not the greatest movies.
No, we need to settle this. It's urgent.
Yeah, because I can't say any of these other movies were really bad. Like, I mean, I didn't like 100% love watching Willow, but I didn't think it was horrible. Like, I thought it was pretty decent. Black Christmas was okay. I thought it was pretty good up until, like, the ending. Wicker Man and Howling are, like, classics. I probably would maybe have tightened up, like, the editing of the Howling. Like, Outland was great. Hoosiers was great. I liked some of the comedy in Real Men, like I said, but the editing was like, what the fuck? Strange Brew was pretty good. There were maybe some shit they could have cut out of it. The Wailing, even though that was, like, I think the longest movie we watched overall, it was probably the best movie that's been on this list as far as just in general, like, you know what I mean? Like, a great movie to watch. Like, I could show that to people and be like, watch this fucking film, dude. This is, like, holy fuck. Law Abiding...
You want to be upset for 2 hours?
Yeah, I mean, it was, like, a good movie, though, so... Law Abiding Citizen was pretty good, I thought. Bloodsport was good.
Especially that courtroom scene.
Yeah, and The Last Boy Scout was good. So, I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's obvious that AVGN was not on the caliber of these movies, you know. These were made, like, by big...
I expected Citizen Kane, too.
Well, these movies were made by big Hollywood fucking committees and stuff. And not committees, but you know what I mean? Like, they had that kind of funding behind them. Fucking AVGN did not. And it was also...
Can't use money as an excuse. It was one man's vision. Just like you wanted to see with all your movies.
That's true.
So you were busy in your sandbox digging away, making your little castles.
You really think... So you think that, like, Real Men is better than AVGN movie? It's hard to for me. It's hard to call, honestly.
It is. That's not an easy decision to make.
Which is what I'm saying. Well, you know why I'm saying like it's kind of sad, because that'd be like if me and you fucking made a movie and we put it up against a movie that was supposed to be in theaters and like a fucking awesome movie. Like AVGN, I think went to theaters like one time, and it was paid for by fucking the people that made the movie. It's not like Real Men where they like put it in theaters with money that they had from the studio. You know what I mean? And like I said, I'm not trying to say like money makes the difference, because I'm pretty sure they didn't have a huge budget on Real Men. But what I'm saying is like
I feel bad. I don't like this. Like I like
right.
AVGN and all the episodes, but the movie was nothing like any of the episodes that
right.
I liked.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I agree. I feel like the incompetence of Real Men outweighs the struggle of the AVGN movie. What I'm gonna say is they're both tear jerkers for fucking the amount of time I was wasted in like the length. I mean, we'll be honest here. The AVGN movie could have been half the time, and it would have been 1,000 times better.
Yeah.
Real Men, same way. Could have been half the time, and it would have been like if they had tightened that up, like it would have been so much better. I felt like they both suffer from the same problem, and that's like their length. Pretty much like they like flew too close to the sun and got fucking burned because of it. Because of me with that. Well, that's true.
I just want to say that Son of Darrell's wrong for nominating it in the first place. you were wrong for nominating AVGN. Not really. I'm glad I've seen them both.
Yeah.
And they were both fun to talk about.
Yeah, I don't think there's a movie that you nominated. Well, that's not true. You nominated The Wicker Man, or not The Wicker Man, but Black Christmas. And up until the end, it was fine. And then I was like, I threw a shit fit. I wouldn't say that's a bad movie, though. I will probably never watch it again. I understand why it gets like the cult classic status it does, but it's kind of like there are movies that do the same thing that are like 100 times better than it. So there's really no reason for me to watch it ever again, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? But I'm glad that I watched it, is what I should say.
Yeah.
What do you think about what do you think's your favorite movie we've done so far in here? You're like Clue.
Like Real Men.
Every week you say the movie we did the week, even if you hate it. This week, I'm talking about Clue, the greatest movie ever made. It's like, okay. But
Wicker Man for me is the best, because
yeah,
I think it's one of the best movies ever made, and it's one of my favorites.
It's pretty good.
I did really enjoy Last Boy Scout, and I think that was one of the more fun ones to talk about so far.
The Last Boy, yeah, I think we spent the most time talking about that movie. We almost spent 2 hours talking about The Last Boy Scout.
Good lord.
And it didn't seem like 2 hours. Kind of like The Wailing, which was actually like 10 hours. Yeah, I'm not trying to like shit on like Real Men or AVGN. It's just kind of like, we haven't had a truly bad movie though on this podcast yet. Like we haven't sat through a movie where I was like, wish I hadn't been born watching it. You know what I mean? Like, so there's still time. We're only 15 episodes into this show, so if anybody wants to nominate a fucking movie where I fucking kill myself at the end of the fucking episode.
Space Jam it is. Next week. Let's do it.
Nah, dude. I'm talking like fucking like someone's gonna nominate like a fucking snuff film or some shit. Speaking of which, dude, nobody nominate 8mm, please. I don't want to watch that bullshit again. The fucking movie, I remember seeing that and like, yeah. Speaking of snuff films,
it'll ruin your day.
Yeah, that was, I don't know. I'm trying to think like the worst movie I've ever seen, but I can't. It's like, I think it's probably because I blocked it out. It's usually one of those fucking shitty blockbuster Hollywood video films that like had a cool cover, and then I took it home and it was like a shitty zombie movie that like somebody filmed on their like VHS like camcorder shit. It's like, okay, dude, fuck you. I guess
Coming to America might be the worst movie I've ever seen.
Like the first one?
No, the new one.
Oh, the one that's got the same title, but they just put a fucking 2 in the middle, and it's legit just a copy of the first one, from what I heard.
Bad.
Yeah.
Well, no. It's
well, no.
It's nothing like the first one because the first one was like a real movie.
Matt, go get your energy bill.
Some cobbled together crap.
Quick!
I think Suicide Squad's one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
I think it's one of the most
ripped off.
I feel like it's not a horrible movie. I feel like it's another committee not understanding what the original vision was for that movie. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I do agree it's a bad movie, but it wasn't. I don't think it originally was gonna be a bad movie. I feel like.
Who cares?
That's true. I guess it's about the finished product, right?
Yeah.
You can't give credit for like fucking a movie that could have been good. Yeah, there's no way in hell that's like the worst movie, like even close, I've ever seen. Like,
really?
Yeah, oh no, dude, fucking I fucking Vertical Limit. I saw that in fucking theaters. That's still like one of my least favorite movies of all time.
I bet it might be.
I'll probably watch it and be like, this movie's the greatest movie I've ever seen. I just remember seeing it and being like, and we got in to see that movie for free because of our friend Tommy, because he used to work at the movie theater and he got us in, and I was watching it and I was like, can I get my fucking time back? Good God, man, this is fucking the shits.
All right, so next week, Vertical Limit, Congo, and Space Jam.
Conga Line and Space Jam. I'm like, So actually, no. The next movie is Train to Busan, another hopefully classic, nominated by our friend Kevin. He was the one that nominated The Wailing. It's funny because when we first learned about The Wailing, you texted me and you were like, this movie's fucking 3 hours long, I'm gonna kill Kevin. And yeah, I think I was kind of dreading that as well, but like honestly, I came out of that movie and like, yeah, it was like you said, it was kind of a downer, but it was a film that like told its story. So I was like, and I think that's something that I'm kind of seeing is like, even though we complain about like the length of Real Men and like AVGN and shit, like The Wailing and like other movies I've seen, like, you know, you look at like the Justice League movie that like people are fucking saying is awesome or like, you know, pretty good, and like I don't think it's length that has anything to do with it. It's like, how do you use my time? You know what I mean? Like, because I think we've talked about this before where I'm like, dude, the worst thing a movie can be is fucking boring. And as soon as it treads into that territory, if it's a bad movie or it's a good movie, it doesn't matter. If it's a boring movie, that's the real bad movie, because this is entertainment. This isn't a fucking job. You know, it's like, I'm here to be entertained, so fucking do it. And if you can't do that, get off the stage and let somebody else do it.
Wait, we're not getting paid for doing this show?
I mean, I'm saying like,
Get a rope.
Get a rope. Get a rope. Not getting paid to do buddy shots. Get a rope. But you know what I mean? It's like, and I'm not saying every movie needs to be fucking 4 hours long. What I'm saying is I would have rather seen a movie... Okay. I would have rather possibly seen a longer version of, like, Rise of Skywalker that, like, took its time and finished the trilogy correctly than, like, a rushed, we gotta make, like, a fucking trilogy with 2 movies bullshit affair. You know? I would have changed a lot more things about that in the movie, but I'm just saying, you know, like, come on. Like, give me some time to digest what's going on here.
Yeah.
But, yeah. You have any other thoughts about this week and the other previous movies we've watched or the upcoming movie? Because
we should go back and do special editions of all those shows and add in like some more characters.
Nobody. I don't know if anybody knows this or if we've talked about this in the podcast before, but you had this idea a long time ago of doing commentary on a podcast. And it fucking was like
It was my dream.
It was like the
My only dream.
It was like the Hindenburg. It was like things started off good for like the first like leg of the tour, and then fucking it crashed and burned because like we listened to it back and it was literally just like us talking over ourselves. So it was like, it works with like movies because movies you can watch and hear people talking over them, but like hearing someone talk over audio is like, But I don't know. Okay, so
For helping me live my dream.
Yeah, man, it was worth a shot.
No, it wasn't. It was horrible.
I mean, you never know. You never know till you try. I'm sure somebody else had tried it at one point and been like, ugh. So yeah, anything else?
Right. Look forward to next week.
Yep, Train to Busan, coming out November 24th. No, it's coming out next week, Saturday, 6 p.m., same time as always. Yeah, we're still, should we take any more suggestions, or is there anything coming out that you want to, like, nominate for us to watch? Because if so, like, I could go and then you could go, or...
Things, but I think we should keep,
okay, yeah.
making nominations and alternating between your picks and my picks.
Yeah, I agree. So, we're still waiting for nominations, so if anybody wants to nominate anything, we're down for that, because we have Train to Busan, and then we really don't have anything else after that, but we will see you guys next time.
I hope nothing happens.
God damn it, I fucked up. But I'm used to that. Bye-bye.